Hey guys, the new guild identities just dropped, and I thought I would give you some of my first impressions, and what better way to do that than arbitrarily ranking them from worst to best. Before we get into this video, I want to point you to my Patreon, where Guild Ball Gotcha's episode 5 is already up. In that episode, we talk about the power of buffing short playbooks. So if you missed the announcement, guild identity cards are guild-specific cards that give your team an extra buff during the game, but also modify how many hit points you heal when using Come On Mate or Take a Breather. They were just revealed for open playtest and are not currently in the game, but likely will be added soon. So with that, onto the list. At number 11 we have Inheritance Tax. Inheritance Tax is the Mortician's card. Each time an enemy model suffers the taken out condition, one guild-friendly model within 4 inches may be allocated 1 influence, and it reduces your healing to 3. I think this is the worst one because it's situational, so you have to kill a model, and then you have to have another model that's going to be able to, that hasn't activated and going to be able to spend its influence within 4 inches of this model, or the model activating has to be able to get to another model and spend its 1 influence. Also, currently Morticians are played as more of a striking team that uses a lot of control to dictate where the ball in the play goes and to keep their models safe. So this seems kind of out of left field for me. I just think losing a hit point on heal and allocating that influence is just going to be very tough, and it's super situational. Next up at number 10, we have Pirate's Bounty. At the end of the initiative phase, if your opponent has the initiative, the friendly team gains +1 additional MP, and then reduces your healing to 3. So essentially, if you go second, you get 2 momentum. So this is a little bit interesting. Union almost exclusively wants to go first every single round, so this will be kind of an added bonus if you're not going well, or if you lose a high but not guaranteed initiative roll. I don't hate it. I know it's getting a lot of hate and is clearly among the weakest of these. But I like the idea that maybe you could, if you lose the initiative roll and they knock your rage down, you could stand up rage and put up Bloody Coin immediately. So I think that's kind of interesting. Next up at number 9, we have the fish one, which is Football Champions. Friendly guild models gain +0/+1 inch kick, and your healing is reduced to 3. This seems super not worth it to me. Just getting an extra inch on your kicks seems pretty rough. I mean, Shark can score from 9 inches away now, so I guess that's cool. But it just seems overall kind of weak. I think fish would much rather see like a movement buff in the same vein. But alright, it's not absolutely terrible. Next up we have Nature's Bounty at number 8. Nature's Bounty. Before deploying the models, the controlling player selects 1 piece of rough ground on the pitch. For the remainder of the game, the selected rough ground is a forest. Healing reduced to 3. This is super situational, so there has to be rough ground on the pitch for you to even be able to make use of this card. Otherwise, you're just playing down a healing. So this will get better the more of these cards we have, so that the hunters can put it down when it really just suits them the best. But in the current playtest, I don't think it's that great. But there will be games where there's both a rough ground and a forest, and you're just going to be able to be like, just play in the sprinkler. But most of the time, what I think it'll do is there's usually on a pitch, there's either rough ground or a forest, and so it'll just make it always be a forest on the pitch. So that makes things like Hearn 1 more usable. Number 7, I have my controversial pick of Bloodthirst. Friendly guild models gain Life Drinker. When this model damages 1 or more enemy models with a playbook damage result, it may recover 1 HP. Healing reduced to 2. So this one's getting a lot of hate on the internet because essentially it cuts the effectiveness of healing in half. JB Perkins on Twitter said that most of these will reduce your healing to 3, and so that becomes kind of the new standard. And so just reducing it 1 below that isn't that surprising. And it's already healing based, so every time you do damage, you heal a hit point. Every butcher has momentous damage and wants to be dealing momentous damage. That's the guild's thing. I think if you take this card, what you're going to be looking to set up is to be playing models that always have to be 1-rounded. Right? So like every time somebody comes into one of your guys, he's going to be full health or near full health, because he's healed 3 or 4 from his influence expenditure and then probably spent 1 of the momentum to heal himself. So they're going to be healing 5 every single time, and then it'll keep your momentum expenditure down. It seems alright. I have it middle of the pack. At number 6, we have Watch the World Burn. Enemy models suffering one or more conditions which take damage in the maintenance phase suffer an additional +1 condition damage. Healing reduced to 3. This seems great. Smoke will love this. It's worth noting that it doesn't make conditions do 1 extra damage. It's just if you're suffering a condition that does damage, you take 1 extra. So fire and poison is 4 damage, not 5 damage. But fire is 2 damage, so that's really great. Being able to double down on fire. Cat 1 loves this if you're playing like a Midas list as well. I think it also will increase the strength of Crucible, which makes it harder to remove conditions. Also in this new meta where most people are healing 3, if the alchemists have this, it's a no-brainer to shake the poison over just healing your 3. I like it overall. Next up, I'm going to talk about 4 and 5 at the same time because I think they're kind of inseparable. But at 5, I have Built to Last, the Masons one. When a guild model uses defensive stance, it gains +1 armor in addition to its +1 defense. And then right above that, I have Tough as Nails. Once per turn, when a friendly guild model suffers the knockdown condition, the model may gain +1 arm until the end of the current activation. And that's for blacksmiths. So you'll notice both of these still keep the 4 healing. So that's really, really strong. But effectively, what they do is they just remove a success from every attack after they're procced. Masons go to these really godly stats, like I charge Honor, and she's a 3-2 normally, you Death Stance, and now you're a 4-3. That's terrifying. But it also requires you to have that momentum and be willing to spend it. Whereas I think Tough as Nails will just trigger a little bit more, because you go and you knock down Iron, and now he's 2-4 if he's near a master, until he's done being attacked. And if you're a 1-inch melee model, you have to knock down Iron because you got double push on 1. And then the next model that comes to attack him, he won't be the bonus armor, but you have the opportunity to stand him up in between because you have an activation. Overall, I think they're really, really similar because both guilds are high armor guilds. Next up, we have the one that I'm probably the most excited about, which is the Farmer's one. Eat Hearty. When a friendly model returns to the pitch, it immediately recovers 3 HP, and healing goes up to 5. So this wildly changes some of the Farmer's math, while staying completely inside kind of their design space of having a lot of healing. When a model comes back, it heals an extra 3, so you're 3 above your return mark, and then you can heal for 5 twice, putting everybody at full health almost in the entire guild. And like with just 1 heal, like Thresher comes back at like 90% hit points. I think it's really, really strong. I think it will make certain guilds that are like medium damage almost unable to deal with farmers at all, especially if Grange is throwing Constitution around. Alright, number 2, we have the Engineers one. Tracer rounds. Once per activation, when each friendly non-captain guild model uses a character play, the friendly model may use bonus time without spending momentum. Healing reduced to 3. This is amazing. Every activation, most of these will affect 1 activation of your turn. It'll affect just 1. But this affects every activation of a player that's going to do a character play. Granted, it's non-captain, so you don't get to free bonus time your deadbolts. But in Ballista, having just the really, really reliable momentum generation on these and being able to just straight up win a gunfight, this thing's incredible. Losing a health hurts a little bit because you're a tough hide faction and each hit point can essentially be double the hit points, but I think it's a worthy trade-off. And then at number 1, we have another round for Brewers. Once per turn, a friendly guild model can use a heroic play without spending momentum, healing at 4. This is absurd. This fixes a bunch of the problems that Brewers have. Currently, Brewers struggle kicking off because they have no way to generate momentum until they get to grips with you, but because you have the ball, you pretty much get to dictate when and where that happens. So losing the role at the start of the game really hampers Brewers' ability to win the game. But with this, being able to use times called without momentum is incredible. Right? Just everybody's 2-inch higher threat. Brewers likely out-threat you unless you're willing to use the ball to get to them. It's just absolutely bananas. I can't even imagine what the other Brewers cards are going to be if they're supposed to be taken over this one. On top of that, I also think that the OPD, unless it changes, because you reveal at captain selection, which happens before the roll of who's kicking and receiving, I think you will just always take this one because this is clearly the best one if you're kicking. I can't even imagine there'd be a better one. And it will just really hamper just kind of the diversity of it unless the OPD changes. Steamforge, change the OPD. Alright guys, that's my quick little look at guild identity cards. Comment in the comments down below. Tell me how I'm completely wrong and stupid and how you think my choices or my rankings weren't correct. Like this video, it helps other Guild Ball players find my content. Subscribe to know when I upload a new video. My name is Vincent Curkov, and this has been another Snapshot.